has been my view that given she went to trial, that due process was carried out, that she took responsibility for her crime, that the sentence that she received was very disproportionate relative to what other leakers had received, and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute and not pardon her sentence.
Yesterday, President Obama commuted the 35-year sentence of Chelsea Manning. She is a former Army intelligence analyst who was convicted of leaking classified material. Here to talk about the move and the reaction to it, GOP consultant Edward Getterman and Ed Espinoza from Progress, Texas. Thank you both for being here.
Good to be here.
Well, President Obama defended his decision today, saying, "I feel very comfortable that justice has been served." But some lawmakers are already criticizing the president's decision about commuting Manning's sentence. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what one senator had to say.
An American president is willing to commute the sentence of someone who shared such information publicly. They're probably going to think twice before they're willing to cooperate with America in the future.
Ed, why do you think President Obama decided to commute Manning's sentence, and do you agree with him?
Starting off, I'm not entirely comfortable with the decision, and I think it's well established that I am a Democrat and I'm a strong supporter of the president. Having said that, I think the reason the president did it is because she had already served more than what people have served for similar crimes in the past, and that while I think 6 or 7 years wasn't enough, I do agree that 35 years may have been too much. I think the prosecutors may have been overzealous in trying to make a point. Maybe an important point to make, but nonetheless, maybe overzealous compared to crimes of the past. Look, commutations and pardons, they're never popular. And you see this happen with White Houses on their way out all the time. You saw it happen with both Bush presidents. You saw it happen with Obama just yesterday. It may not be the last one we see over the next few days.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Edward, some people argue, as you heard, American lives were put in danger, they believe, as a result of leaked information. And so does commuting Manning's sentence set a dangerous precedent?
Certainly it does, and our intelligence agencies have proof that lives were indeed put in danger. In fact, we have proof that some of the battlefield reports that Manning leaked ended up in the hands personally of Osama bin Laden. So, you know, it sets a terrible precedent, and I'm not sure that it's an equitable precedent, even beyond just being terrible. I have to ask, what about the Navy sailor who was prosecuted for taking pictures aboard a sub's engine room, which is far less of an offense? You know, what about Snowden? What about Bo Bergdahl? Where does it end? And with all due respect to the president, to say that Manning received a worse sentence and had served more time than previous leakers. This was the worst leak of classified information in the history of our country. So I don't believe that there are precedents that you could compare it to. And I think he should have served 35 years bare minimum. There's a time in our country when people like this were lucky to get prison time, frankly. So I do think it sets a terrible precedent. I will tell you one interesting facet to the story is I'd love to know what Hillary Clinton thinks about it, because you know, the president himself has spent the last 2 months decrying WikiLeaks and saying that it's their fault that Hillary Clinton lost, and here he's gone in one fell swoop and given them the one thing that they wanted more in the world, which was to return their hero. So it's got a lot of interesting facets to the story. I'm concerned going forward about the ramifications of it.
Ed, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, like I said, you know, commutations and pardons are always difficult. I also don't entirely agree with the president on the way that this one played out. I think there were problems with the way that it was set up from the beginning, with the way the prosecution is seeking 35 years. But look, this goes back to Bush pardoning Scooter Libby, who was Vice President Cheney's chief of staff. And this is the guy who had leaked information on Valerie Plame, who was a covert CIA operative back in the early 2000s. Like, that was a problem. George W. Bush pardoning Caspar Weinberger for his role in the Iran-Contra affair. These are never easy. We don't always agree with them. Sometimes presidents deal with issues and information that we don't all have access to and are not in our calculus. That may be the case here. We don't know that. We may never know that. In the meantime, it's something that we will have to continue to study over time.
Okay, we are out of time, but Edward, Ed, thank you both for sharing your perspectives with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
you.